I started the recording. And thank you all again for attending the Microsoft and Women in Partner December session. This is the last of our 2017 fall webinar series. And the objective of Microsoft and Women in Partner is to connect, empower, and inspire female leaders in our partner and Microsoft organizations. For our December session, I am very pleased and excited to introduce Sally Ann Frank. She is a devoted mother, daughter, and partner, an enthusiastic entrepreneur and writer, and passionate volunteer. At Microsoft, she is a Microsoft Internet of Things Solution Specialist for Healthcare for the Americas. As part of the Microsoft's Global Black Belt team, she helps leading healthcare companies use the Internet of Things to improve patient outcomes and efficiency. In addition to caring for her family, she owns the Bindu Yoga Studio, loves adventure travel, volunteers with her therapy dog, and Wellspring International Outreach, which supports orphanages in South Africa and Peru. She's currently working on an initiative to bring a digital literacy program to the orphans at Hogar Balin in Moquegua, Peru. Sally also contributes sporadically to her blog at sallyannfrank.com and is working on a second edition of her book, 50 Revelations from the Heart, Lessons on Loving and Living Fully, available on Amazon. Again, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Sally and have her share with us her top 8 best mindfulness practices. Sally, you have the stage.
Thank you, Jody, and thanks everyone for joining today. I'm hoping that we all have a really good time and can really relax and start our holiday season without work in a more mindful and relaxed way. So before we get started, I just wanted to share that what I'm going to talk about today is based on the work that I've done in my yoga practice, but probably more often than not, these practices are a product of the challenges I've had in my life and in trying to facilitate the growth of my lovely, although somewhat obstinate daughter into a kind, loving, and self-sufficient human being. My goal today is really not to say you should do this, although some of these ideas may indeed help you. But instead, I'd like to take this opportunity to expand your mind so you can find your own practices that work for you. In fact, I'm hoping that we'll get a lot of interaction today because I know there are many of you that have developed your own approach to managing the complex and connected lives we lead. So let's go to the next slide, Jody. So before we really jump in, I'm going to start at the end. No matter how centered or balanced you may be, everyone falls off the serenity wagon. And I want you to know that I'm about as imperfect as they come. No one would ever confuse me with the Dalai Lama. I've yelled at my daughter, said things that escalated arguments instead of diffusing them. I've been judgmental, and well, I'm just a human being trying to do the best I can to control my mouth, my emotions, and actions so that I use my superpowers for good. So everybody falls off the serenity wagon. So with that in mind, let's start with my top 5 mindfulness practices. And before we go on, I just wanted to even talk about what mindfulness means. And it's actually, you may already know this, it's core to Buddhism. And the concept can be traced as far back as the 5th century BC, when it appeared in the 37 Factors of Enlightenment, the Buddha's most essential teachings. In more recent times, Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, a professor of medicine emeritus at the University of Massachusetts Medical School, he's really one of the ones that have brought it to the fore in our current age, and he offers one of the most widely used definitions of mindfulness. And he says it's, quote, paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. So you can give that some thought. Second, the reason why I wanted to bring up this whole approach to mindfulness is that there are significant benefits to mindfulness, including overall health, a greater and more productive connection to others, and a more optimistic and purposeful life. If you go online and Bing science and mindfulness, you will literally find a plethora of citations that speak to the benefits of mindfulness. And so the next thing we're going to do is actually practice this together. So going to practice number 1. Thanks, Jody. So this tip actually does come directly from my practice and teaching of yoga. 75% of your breathing apparatus is in your belly. That's where your diaphragm is. Except most of us only breathe with our chests. The result is that our bodies are in a constant state of fight or flight because those short breaths actually help kind of get us agitated, which works really well when you're a cave person trying to get away from a saber-toothed tiger. However, in our lives today, if we're constantly in that short breath and constantly using those the adrenaline, we're actually fatiguing our endocrine system and our lymphatic systems. So we often feel fatigued, unsettled, and frankly a bit scattered. However, if we use our diaphragms, we get fuller breaths, which literally nourishes our body. So instead of just talking about it, we're going to do it. Now this 4-7-8 breath is really a great breath because it's so easy to do, and it focuses on elongating the exhale, which is actually a relaxing breath that will calm your nervous system. And conversely, if you were to elongate the inhale, that's an energizing breath. So tomorrow morning when you get up, give that long inhale a try and see if you feel more energetic. But today we're going to work on elongating that exhale. And this 4-7-8 breath, which I've got on the screen here, is what we're going to work on. So I'm going to ask you to put your devices aside, close your eyes. I'm sure most of you are alone and no one will know if you're closing your eyes or not. So go ahead and close your eyes. And even place one hand on your belly so you can make sure that that is being actually engaged as you breathe. You can put the other hand on your chest so you can feel the difference. And just sit up tall. Settle your mind. And just take a couple of breaths on your own pace. And then if you can, just exhale, just at your own pace. And what we're going to do is spend the next few moments, and I'm going to count for you. So we'll inhale to a count of 4, hold to a count of 7, and exhale to a count of 8. Now, if you cannot go all the way to 7 or 8, it doesn't matter. Just do the best you can. So exhale fully, and here we go. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do it again. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One more time. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now gently open your eyes and see how you feel. That took all of like 45 seconds. And hopefully you feel a little bit differently than you did just a couple of minutes ago. So this breath is really helpful if you're up at night and your mind is racing. It's a great way to give your mind something to do other than the thoughts that are processing through your head while relaxing your body. So thanks for doing that with me, and we'll move on. Let's go to the next slide, Jody. All right, so building on our breath, as you probably can relate to. Sometimes we go through an entire day without taking a single full breath. So I think in terms of using triggers. When I was driving a lot, I would use a red light as a trigger. I was commuting far distances, taking my daughter to a variety of activities, and every time there was a red light, I would take that opportunity to take a deep breath, inhaling fully and making the exhale long and luxurious. In fact, by the time the light turned green, I often felt a bit better about even having to deal with the traffic in front of me. Now, does anybody else have triggers that they use? You can either put it in the chat window, or we're a small group if you want to come off of mute.
This is Jody. I have a trigger, and it's not a stoplight, but for me it's a particular scarf I received from a yoga studio. And I don't know if it's because it's from a yoga studio or who gave it to me as a gift, but that is my trigger to always stop and breathe. And I thought of the scarf today because of the anticipated call, but I didn't wear it because I've got some holiday spirit today, but I took that scarf and I gave it a quick little squeeze, almost like a little hug, and I immediately felt calmed, and I took a deep breath. It was just something I didn't have to think about or do, but just holding that scarf close made me do it. So that is one thing that I have, and I cherish it very much.
Great. Thanks, Jody. Does anybody else have any triggers that they use? Any reminders to breathe or do other practices that are calming and relaxing? Okay, well, now you have one. 2 ideas. Does wine count? Yes, wine counts. You know, it's funny, when I get my cup of coffee in the morning, it's always like, to me, it's a whole new set of possibilities. It's like sitting down with a cup of coffee. It's like, okay, I'm going to be optimistic about my day. Before going into customer meetings. What do you mean by that, Christina?
Like, so I use that as an opportunity to take a break. I mean, for like a minute.
Good.
But you know, because a lot of times you're feeling kind of, at least for me, my mind is racing a little bit, or I'm thinking of a bunch of different things before I go in, and I usually take that opportunity, you know, when you're kind of sitting at the table, but before things start, to not necessarily close my eyes, but just kind of have that minute or so of time to center a little bit.
Good for you. That's great. I try to breathe and meditate before and after reading my daily devotional. Very nice. And before I do Finding Mastery podcast. Yeah, that's a good one. Getting my mind clear and right before the message. Very nice. Yeah, that's a good one, Chelsea. I know that there are a bunch of apps out there that will remind you, I think Headspace is one of them, to breathe throughout the day. So if you're looking for triggers, I would suggest, you know, going to your app store and finding something that works. Yeah, Calm is another app. Thanks, Jody. Okay, all great ideas. So let's move on to number 3. Walk in nature. This is one of my favorites. About 3 to 4 times a week, although I don't like winter and I pretty much scale back during the winter time, I take Roxy, my trusty companion, for a walk. I typically really focus on not talking or texting on my phone, and typically it's just the dog and me. And while I'm doing these walks, I'll focus on my breath and then also look for beauty. And so it's just a way to, again, keep my mind engaged in something that is positive and relaxes me. So these pictures, with the exception of the one in the middle with the dog and me, those 2 on the side, those are actually in my neighborhood. And so, you know, finding the sun kind of billowing through the trees and all of that, if you're not paying attention, you miss it. So the whole idea is to make that movement, that walking in nature, much more meditative. My own personal theory is on meditating is that when meditating first came about, we were an agrarian society. Physical labor was kind of the standard. And today, we're not like that. And many of us sit for hours and hours and hours. So I've kind of flipped that around. And for me, walking in nature and walking becomes the meditation and movement. And it works for me for 2 reasons, and it may also resonate with you. It reminds me of the bigger picture, number 1, and number 2, it makes me feel connected to something greater than myself. if you're looking at flowers and you're looking at a beautiful sunshine, it's hard to get mired down in some of the mundane things that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So anyway, you don't have to go far. Hopefully there's somewhere local to you, a park or something where you can walk and feel fully present and connected. So let's go to the next one, Jody. Number 4 is to focus on a favorite quote or mantra. So find a passage that speaks to you and keep it handy. This one from Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist monk, was actually taped to the inside of my medicine cabinet for years. So it greeted me every morning, and I also read it before I went to bed. And this one, I know Thich Nhat Hanh is really very intriguing and very inspirational, but that didn't prevent me from making a little change to his quote. We tend to be our own harshest critics, and so I needed a reminder, and frankly I still do, that I shouldn't be kinder to others than I am to myself. How many times has someone done something mistakenly to you or to something around you, and you are effusive with your willingness to accept it and make them not feel so bad, when if you did it, the same thing, you would berate yourself for days. So I'll give you an example. I was at the Worldwide Partner Conference when I was working at Mariner before I joined Microsoft, and I was wearing my starched white Mariner shirt. I had my backpack, my big Starbucks thing, and was with my boss, and we were at a session at the conference in the morning. About 500 people in this room, and after about 10 minutes we realized that this session really wasn't for us. So my boss and I got up, I've got my backpack, my starched white Mariner shirt, and I start looking at my phone with my coffee in my hand. And what do? Not only do I bump into a microphone that was there for questions after the session, it was live. So everyone hears this boom as it hits my forehead. The coffee goes all over me, and I'm now drenched in a nice starched white with brown polka dot shirt. And I was so mortified, only because there was an audience in addition to looking less than my best. However, if that same thing had happened because someone bumped into me, I probably would have said, oh, this old shirt, I don't really even like it that much, and it's fine, and I'll go back to the hotel and change, it won't be a problem. But because I did it, I was really angry. And frankly, it ruined my whole day. So keep in mind that, number 1, find a favorite quote or mantra, but also as you kind of pick something, make sure that it encourages you to be compassionate with yourself. Does anybody currently have any kind of mantra or quote that they use on a regular basis? Again, you can either put in the chat or open up the your mic. Christina's writing something. I use a breathing pattern. What is that? Pattern. Oh, thank you. That's much better.
Yes, I'm here. It's from Thich Nhat Hanh, actually. It's like a guided like sentence for every in-breath and out-breath.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty famous. Yeah, it's like breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out.
Breathing in, I feel calm. Breathing out, I feel ease. Yeah, I know it. I love that one.
Yeah, that's great. And it definitely, if you kind of follow with it and really focus on it, because there's a part that says breathing in, I smile, breathing out, I release. And to me, it's really nice for that kind of like self-love portion of,
Yes, I love that, and I often use it at the end of my classes, the yoga classes that I teach. So let's see. Alexandra writes, I always remind myself I'm only one person, I can't do it, also relax. Excellent. And Chelsea writes, we rise by lifting others, simple and common. Very nice, but it reminds me that we are all in this together. We are, and the best way to help myself is to help others first. Wow, that's really sweet. Thank you, guys. Let's go to the next one. Number 5. Focus on gratitude. So I know this is almost trite. We talk about it all the time, but it's also worth mentioning here. Now, I also want to remind you that it doesn't mean we go through life with rose-colored glasses. It means that even in the face of adversity, we should try and think about the good stuff if we can. And if you allow me, I'd like to share another personal story that exemplifies exactly what I mean. So my father died a little over a year ago after a long battle with dementia. And we're Jewish, so it's customary, as is customary after a death, that we're sitting Shiva at my parents' house. And that's a Jewish custom where people come to visit the grieving family, and a small service is held so that a special prayer for the dead can be said. Anyway, the rabbi was there with about 50 of our friends and family, and he began the little kind of mini service so that we could say the prayers when my mother interrupts him. And, of course, the rabbi immediately defers to the grieving widow, my mother, so she can say what's on her mind. My mother spent the next 10 minutes expressing her gratitude for the number of family and friends that were with us that evening and for the 60 years she spent with my father. I was blown away because in her darkest moment of sorrow, she found gratitude. It's an experience that I will never forget. And even though it's a tough act to follow, it has completely changed how I view gratitude. So I offer that up. I'm sure there's something that maybe will happen in your life that will kind of bring it home in a new way, because gratitude does get kind of overplayed and trite. But sometimes there are those deeply moving moments where you remember that gratitude is so very important. Okay, take a deep breath. All right, so now we're going to move on to practices that are more designed to help you find balance in your life. And as we all know, this elephant balancing on a beach ball sometimes seems more what's the word I'm looking for? More possible than finding balance in our own lives, given that we are constantly connected and always, overbooked. So these last three practices will focus on trying to find that balance. So, number 6, don't start what you can't sustain. This one bubbled up for me when my daughter was in elementary school, and she's now in college, so I've been working on this for a while. But it was a great time to start practicing the art of saying no, because I'd never felt more stressed with the demands of being a mom, with the activities, homework, and requests from teachers and other parents for baked goods and fundraisers. And, if you've had a kid, you know what that's like. So don't start what you can't sustain. Why? Because we berate ourselves if we fail, and frankly, it's just not worth it. Here's another example from my life. I go to the gym. I practice yoga, but I also go to the gym about 2 to 3 days a week, and I'm usually only there for about 45 or 50 minutes. It's not very long, but it's something I can sustain. I can fit that into my lifestyle. Do I get the best workout ever? No. Could I be in better shape if I spent 2 hours there? Absolutely. But how many days am I going to have 2 hours to spend in the gym? Absolutely none. The same thing can be true with diet, baking for your kids' events, driving more than your fair share of carpool, taking care of more than your fair share of the burden for caring for elderly parents. Whatever it is, if you can't sustain it, don't start it. Find the middle ground, share the burden, and feel good about the level of efforts you are putting forth. Chelsea writes, this is my biggest struggle. I really struggle with saying no, and I overwhelm myself. Chelsea, it's so true. We all struggle with it, and that's why I bring it here. Yes, this goes hand in hand with being comfortable and saying no. Totally agree. Yep. Thanks, Susan. Yeah, it's just really hard, and we are taught to please. I think it was Oprah who talked about the disease to please. And yes, we can pleasantly say no, and we can say, no, not now, but how about next week? Or, no, I can't do that, but I can do this, is that almost as good? So no is a very powerful and important word, and we need to practice using it as much as possible. But that's an internal conversation as well as an external conversation. So let's go to number 7, because it follows up with number 6. Delegate. It was mentioned at the beginning that I'm a business owner. I own a yoga studio and have for about 4 years. However, I have a lady whom I love and trust who runs the day-to-day operations so I can focus on my career at Microsoft. This makes my life much more manageable, and frankly, she doesn't always do things the way I would do them, and I've come to peace with that. Nothing catastrophic will ever happen because she chose to promote one event on Facebook versus another, or that she wrote an email to her students that is not written in exactly the same tone that I would write it. It's all okay because it lightens the load, and the delta between her approach and mine is completely and utterly meaningless. Now, it's a bit different if you are performing surgery, which most of us are not, but all of us certainly have responsibilities in our lives that we can outsource, whether it's house cleaning, child care, cooking. We just started using HelloFresh, so we get our meals, kind of packaged, ready to cook a couple times a week. And it's changed everything. We don't have to go grocery shopping as much. We can just relax and enjoy the process of cooking and being together. So there's got to be ways that you can delegate. And if you do delegate, don't worry about the delta. The woman that cleans my house doesn't clean it as well as I do, but I don't care because it gets done good enough. No one else is going to walk through with a white glove and check everything. So delegate at every opportunity. Jody says, this makes me think of allowing the kids to help with folding the towels, doing chores. Not the way I would do it, but I have let them do it and be okay with the outcome. Absolutely, because it's an important lesson for them as well. If kids see the mom doing everything, or even the mom and dad doing everything, and they're not participating, then they don't have a sense of value for work that needs to be done at the house and the contributions that you make to a unit, whether it's a family or a team. Any other stories about delegating? Anybody want to share? Okay, then we'll move on. Which brings us back to the first thing that we started with. Everyone falls off the serenity wagon. And as you may have guessed, I'm very driven, detail-oriented, and decisive, and I expect a lot out of myself, and I suspect that all of you feel the same way. You expect a lot out of yourself. You might have lost your cool like I tend to do from time to time, but we're all human, and it's okay to lose your cool every once in a while. The key, again, is not to berate yourself. We are all human. The fact is we can't be serene all the time, and to strive for that is unrealistic and destructive. So, if you fall off the serenity wagon, realize it's part of being a human, ask for forgiveness if appropriate, and then forgive yourself. Really forgive yourself. Brene Brown has a great set of discussions on this, and so you can go to Bing and find her and put her name in and forgive, and you'll find lots and lots of citations. So if you need some help with that, I strongly suggest looking her up. She's got some wonderful writings on it. So that brings us back to opening it up. Can we go to the next slide, Jody? Please. Yeah, so if you have some practices that you like and want to share with a group that has not fallen into one of the categories we've already hit, please either put it in the chat or open up your mic and share with the team and the group. Anyone? Bueller? Anyone?
I love trying to start the day and end the day with meditation specifically. I think that it's such a nice, I don't always get to do it, and I think that especially in the morning, it's really difficult to make sure, we put aside that time, but it's a great practice because it really centers you for the day and then centers you, at the end of the day.
Yeah, good for you. And Michelle writes, I give myself a facial. Yeah, the whole idea of self-care is really important. And, sometimes I splurge and go get a manicure and pedicure, but more frequently I'll just do my own nails. And it's just, I don't know, painting those little tiny spaces. I don't know what it is, but just it's calming, and I like how it looks when it's done. And I feel better.
Also Lush bath bombs. Spending, splurging the $7 for one bath and just, treating yourself to that is really nice.
That's cool. All right. Anybody else?
Folding warm towels.
Folding warm towels. That's nice, Beth.
Yep, just calm, and it's just over and over, just a nice calming movement.
Oh, that's cool. You can fold mine if you like. I'm not a fan. Okay. Anybody else have anything that really helps them center?
Hi, this is not really that helps me center, but today, but it did used to, and really for those of you on the phone that have small children, especially during the holiday season, I used to, when Sarah was little, I used to really focus on taking time to watch her enjoy Christmas, especially at those young years, because it goes by so very quickly. And trust me when I tell you, you miss it a lot when they're older. So I hope I will just share that I find every holiday I kind of find myself looking at old pictures at Christmas and remembering how much fun it was to watch my daughter enjoy the holidays. So I hope all of you with little ones take the time to do that at Christmas, because it goes by fast.
Thanks, Susan. That's a wonderful thought, especially this time of year. And, it might be Christmas, it might be their birthdays or whatever. I just came across a picture of my daughter lighting the menorah when she was probably 4 or 5. Yes, I let her play with matches at 4 or 5 until But you look at that and you go, oh my gosh, it seems like it was yesterday, and she's going to be graduating college soon. So, yeah, those are precious moments, definitely. Any others? Okay. Well, let's go to the last slide. So if I'm not connected with you on either on LinkedIn, please connect with me. I do tweet a lot, and I have a blog that is more about kind of my personal stuff versus business stuff, although there's business stuff every once in a while. So I would love to chat with each of you or get connected in some way. So feel free to do so at any time. And I think that's all we have for today, unless anybody has anything else they want to share. Jody, I think we're back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sally. I'm so glad that we could do this again, and it seemed like an entirely new session for me, and the breathing still makes me feel great from the beginning. So thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us today as you head into the holiday season. We really appreciate the time that you allowed to join us. And remember that this webinar will be posted to the MSUS Women in Partner playlist on YouTube. It might be something you want to watch again in the next couple of weeks too, so please feel free to watch that, and then any of our Women in Partner recorded sessions that are posted there as well. We do not have a 2018 lineup yet, but you will be able to find information on the Women in Partner group on LinkedIn, and we'll share as much as we can through our channels, however we can, but watch for upcoming information in the new holiday year. Thank you everyone for joining, and best wishes for the holiday season, and we'll see you in 2018.
Thank you, ladies.
Thanks, everyone.